TV. I am not black. I am not.
The last reset, there began a massive push to reintroduce technology, culture, and even people to the world. World's fairs had these massive exhibits called live infant incubators. These exhibits were insanely popular, drawing millions of visitors. They even had nurses in uniforms acting like caretakers. The babies weren't premature. They were being artificially gestated. This wasn't just a medical breakthrough. This was unfathomably advanced technology. Artificial wombs, mass baby production. Sounds a whole lot like a new world being repopulated after something big went down.
Cabbage Patch Kids weren't just dolls, but part of a psychological operation to start a new world with no history. Think about it. Why do you adopt them instead of buying them? Why do they come with official birth certificates? And why did parents in the 1980s lose their minds fighting over them? Now, the origins of Cabbage Patch Kids go way deeper than toy shelves. Ever hear of the orphan trains? Baby incubators, massive numbers of children, many just infants, were mysteriously shipped across the U.S. and beyond. No birth records, no names, just appearing out of nowhere and handed to new families. Where did they come from? Officially, they were abandoned or given up. But millions? Some believe the adoptions weren't always legal. Others believe these kids weren't even naturally born. That's where the World's Fairs come in. These weren't just technology expos. They had entire exhibits of babies in incubators. They called it a medical breakthrough, but these weren't premature infants. They were being artificially gestated, artificial wombs, mass baby production. And guess what? The live infant incubator exhibits were among the most popular attractions, drawing millions. People lined up to watch these babies, just like they later lined up to buy Cabbage Patch Kids. And here's where it all connects. Cabbage Patch Kids weren't just a toy fad, they were conditioning. They took the orphan trains, the incubator babies, the idea of children with no origins, and rebranded it as something innocent and fun. Instead of questioning the past, people were trained to see mass baby distribution as normal. Even the branding is suspicious. Why do these dolls grow from a cabbage patch? Why do they just appear from the ground? That's not how babies are born, but it is how foundlings were treated in the past. So what were they really normalizing? Was it just a clever marketing gimmick, or were they covering their tracks? The remnants of an evil beginning for a new nation with no history, built on the destruction of an old empire that held the technology to free us from enslavement. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told
that in our not-so-distant past, babies were created and incubated en masse? This happened and was showcased as attractions at the World Fairs and even in New York's Coney Island. Can you even imagine carnival attractions where people paid to watch babies growing in incubators? Where were the parents? What happened to all of the babies? Well, have you heard of the orphan trains? They were packed off and shipped out west to help repopulate the great Tartarian cities found abandoned across the land. They were sent to humongous orphanages, and the people were able to get orphans to work their farms and factories. Free labor was abundant, and it was needed to rebuild after the last reset. There is loads of evidence showing that the original Cabbage Patch Kids were these orphans which people just simply picked up and took home like fresh produce. Many children were basically indentured servants and were subjected to lifelong slave labor and sexual abuse. Everything they taught you is a lie. America was covered with empty Tartarian cities left to rot after the Great Reset, and those that followed drew a few millions babies to repopulate and rebuild. They dug out those cities and started over, researched Tartaria, and asked questions. Suspend your disbelief. Like, follow, and share.
Make this video because I've been so busy. I'm sorry, y'all. But okay, so I was told like back in the day that there was like this influx of a whole bunch of palm-colored kids that came out of nowhere, and they didn't have parents, but they were assigned or given a family to take care of them, and they was dropped off or given to these people with a birth certificate. Thus, that's where the name and that's where the idea of I don't know if they made by Maytel or whatever, the dolls that's called Cabbage Patch Kids, that's how that whole idea was made. So the Cabbage Patch Kids is baby dolls that are made and is given a certificate with you. It is said that those kids were they were genetically modified and they were made to be of 1 year old. So, you know, you didn't have to deal with the childbirth and all of the other stuff. But 1 year old was around the age. 1 year old is around the age that they were developed to be. I know, and I hear about a lot of like cloning facilities. You've been hearing people be talking about it, you know, for years and years. But everybody try to act like those people was conspiracy theorists or wackadoos or whatever, and really they weren't. You know what I'm saying? Now you see a lot of celebrities and stuff like that. They come out in the open and be like, "Hey, I got a clone. I actually got a clone." They'll tell you the serial number, they clone everything. But yeah, so those kids are in our society right now, and some of y'all may not know that their whole bloodline is based off of these kids. Also, it said like that they would make multiple ones. So y'all know like that what they would do is use a cow's stomach, because a cow's stomach is big and it can hold up to, you know, cows have 7 stomachs on their own. So that's what they were developed into, and they were put like human cells was placed in there to create it. So anyway, a lot of stuff y'all see on movies and a lot of that stuff that they be insinuating on, they really just be telling y'all what they doing. That's the universal law. They got to tell you what they doing. Y'all just need to learn how to tell them, no, they can't do it. And then they have to stop, actually. It's just that simple. But yeah, girl, that's it. I'm just going to make this.
About artificial womb facilities, there is one called Ectolife, the world's first artificial womb facility, powered entirely by renewable energy. Ectolife allows infertile couples to conceive a baby and become the true biological parents of their own offspring. It's offering a solution for women who had their uterus surgically removed due to cancer or other complications, promising premature births and C-sections to be a thing of the past. They are giving a solution to countries that are suffering from severe population decline. They advertise that their facilities have 75 highly equipped labs, each lab accommodating up to 400 growth pods or artificial wombs. Every pod is designed to replicate the exact conditions that exist inside the mother's uterus. A single facility can incubate up to 30,000 lab-grown babies per year. The pods are equipped with a screen that displays real-time data on the developmental progress of your baby. This data is sent directly to your phone so you can track your baby's health. This app also provides you with a high-resolution live view of your baby's development. A special section in the app allows you to watch a time-lapse of your baby's growth. Would you use an artificial womb facility?
Ask me why their grandparents or great-grandparents never talked about the reset. Why don't they remember anything about it? Well, let me try to explain it. First, there were the Cabbage Patch babies. Now, these weren't just toys, you see. They became a symbol of something much bigger, a massive repopulation effort after the reset. These babies, they weren't born the usual way. They were produced almost mechanically in large numbers and distributed through a cold, efficient system. Strange, isn't it? It brings to mind ideas like cloning, doesn't it? And maybe that's why today you see so many folks who just seem to go with the flow. No questions, no thinking. Did you know they say nearly half the population doesn't even have an internal monologue? Imagine that, living life with a quiet mind, just following along. Those babies, those orphan trains, they were shipped off, along with abandoned children who had survived the reset, taken from their families, sent to faraway lands. Many ended up in America. And when they got there, they were given a new story, the official version of history. No elders left to tell them the truth. Nobody to remember how things used to be. It made them easier to control, you see. Easier to accept the new narrative.
They dropped them motherfucking children off on them orphan trains on us. We became they motherfucking babysitters and teachers. The scientists couldn't teach these crazy bitches nothing. They was made 1 year old in a fucking hour. Tell me.
Believe what they tell you. Have you heard of the orphan trains? It was a covert operation to repopulate and reshape the American Midwest. This is as dark and scary as it sounds. Between 1854 and 1929, the United States was experiencing massive waves of immigration that was flooding into urban areas. There was a need to spread the population more evenly across the country, not only to alleviate the overcrowded cities, but also to exert control over areas in America. So, the U.S. government came up with a plan. They took over 250,000 orphaned and homeless children from New York City and other urban areas, placed them on trains, and sent them to rural towns across America. This plan was sold to the public as giving these children a fresh start, but the reality was much darker and more complex. Many of these children simply vanished. Over 100,000 children disappeared as soon as they stepped onto those trains. Was this just a result of poor record keeping, or is there a more sinister story behind these missing children? Do you really believe what they tell you? Have you heard of the orphan train?
I am not black.